Monday. We are in another month, and we thank God because of this day that God has given to us. As we promised you earlier today, Monday, 11th of November 2024. We are back with the goodies. We are back with the loaded with our People Daily newspaper. You want to give you a review of what's in the newspaper. Now remember, you can grab a copy of People Daily newspaper and read, as it is a free. People Daily newspaper is a free newspaper. Just go to the nearest vendor, pick your copy and read more extensively. Now, as we give you a brief of what's happening in the People Daily newspaper, remember you can also watch us on BTV, that's on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook page, Blackman TV Kenya, as well as you can also view us on TikTok and X BTV Kenya. Now, please remember to leave a comment so that we know where you're viewing us from, as your comments are very important for our feedback. Thank you so much. I'm your host, Gagi Isaya. Today, we are not here with Mr. Lennox Odede, my co-host. We believe he'll be back. He's out to gather news for us. Thank you so much for keeping tuned to BTV. Now, let us get straight to what we are having in the People Daily newspaper. Now, looking onto the cover page of the People Daily newspaper, the big story of the day: fears over exam transport crisis. That is on page 4. Now, petroleum dealers threaten not to fuel vehicles ferrying papers after state fails to honor its side of the bargain. That is in page 4. We are going to look into that. And also we see Raila, I am in the race for AU job as an African lion. Now, that's what former Prime Minister now says. His Excellency says former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has told Kenyans that he was in the race for African Union Commission chairman as a seat as an African lion, and brave enough to face any of his challenges. That's a good move. You'll get to see there. And we also have why fight on illicit brew has failed. That's also what we're going to check on page 3. And also acid test for big polluters as climate talks begin. Now, that's part of what we have there on the cover page. Now, let us get into page 2 of the People Daily newspaper. President Ruto roots support for SHA, calls on public to register. Now, a story by George Kibaso, head of state, voices support for the new health insurance scheme, even as gremlins persists. Now, a story by George Kibaso on page 2 state President William Ruto has urged Kenyans to ignore politics being paddled around the Social Health Insurance Authority SHA and register, saying it will help streamline healthcare services in the country. That's what the president is saying. Now, President Ruto has noted that NHIF deprived many Kenyans access to medical services, saying that the system only favored financially able, keeping of underprivileged. Now, that's what the president has said. Now, go and register, as this has a great impact on us. Now, also on the same page, we have vaccine body. Now, polio deaths were coincidental. A story by still the same George Kibaso says that an independent body has attributed the death of 2 children following the polio vaccine campaign last month to coincidental reaction that are resolved with time. According to the Kenya National Vaccine Safety Advisor Committee, the 2 fatal cases were as a result of pneumonia and meningitis. Now, that's a report that we received from the deaths that occurred as a result of polio vaccination that was being conducted. You can also grab a copy of the People Daily newspaper and read more of that comprehensively. Now, the story that we said, illicit alcohol. Now, ban and penalties is not enough. Ban and penalties not enough for the illicit brewers. Now, punishing offenders without giving them alternative livelihood or economic opportunity fails to tackle root cause of illicit brew. Now that's what the report is all about by Zadok Angira. Story by Zadok Angira says, an enduring ban on traditional brews and enforcement approaches that focuses on punishment has led to underground production and consumption of illicit alcohol in Kenya. The study has shown that even as illicit brewers are being penalized, are being punished, now that has not stopped the illicit brew. However, it has also made this to be done secretly and underground. And they're also saying that as part of this, the government needs to come with models to help curb this as punishment and other punishing the offenders, and not to give them another way to economic livelihood. Then that is going to force a lot of challenges to them. Now, if you read the story keenly, you'll also realize that it is rooted in the African cultural beliefs when it comes to illicit and local made alcohol. You can also check that and read more comprehensively on that story. Moving on the same page, we have Waititu graft case. Now, state presents closing arguments. Now, story by Faith Masharia. Prosecutors have filed their final submission in the high-profile graft case involving former Kiambu County Governor Ferdinand Waititu, his wife Susan Wangari Ndungu, and 3 sons. Now, the case revolves around the alleged irregular awarding of 588 million road tender for upgrading roads in Kiambu in February 2018 during Waititu's tenure. Now, the case that partly led to the impeachment of former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu is still on, and now we see that the state has presented the closing remarks, and they say they have enough evidence, compelling evidence, that the court needs to prosecute that case. And also still on the same page, your panel offers ways to curb pollution from plastics. Now, experts are developing a plan that could help world tackle plastic pollution that is hazardous to human health, the environment and marine life. We see that now proposed included eliminating some plastic products from the market and avoiding the use of certain chemicals concerned in plastic products. Now that is part of, that's part of the mechanism that the panel has in order to curb the plastic pollution in the Republic of Kenya. Please grab a copy and read much of that story more comprehensively. Now, moving on to page 4. NEC test as exam face debt disruption. Now, suppliers threaten to withdraw fueling services to transporters ferrying materials to centers conducting final Form 4 exams. A story by People Daily Reporter. The ongoing Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education (KCSE) face a risk of disruption due to the government's failure to allocate necessary funds for transporting exam papers. And now, various sub-county directors of education across the country are now accusing the government of allegedly leaving them in a fix, a situation that has forced some of them to return to their pockets to ensure that the exercise that commenced last week and is due to run until mid next month goes on. Now, this comes as a result of the contracted fuel pumps are now saying that they are not going to do this anymore, as the government has failed to honor the promise that is made to them. Now, that's also a story in page 3. Please grab a copy and read more comprehensively. Now, Opposition leaders clash over Suneka Airport elevation. Now story by Robert Ochoro. Now two elected Orange Democratic Movement ODM party leaders have clashed over the state of Suneka Airstrip in Bonchari constituency, Kisii County, fueling a conflict. Senator Richard Onyonka and Governor Simba Arati differed after the former accused the latter and other leaders of failing to fight for the elevation of the airstrip to an airport. Now that's what's going on. Now we are seeing in the story that Simba Arati and the Senator Onyonka are on crossroads as Onyonka is accusing Arati of not voicing or pushing for the lifting of Suneka Airstrip into an airport. And you'll find their story deep as Onyonka narrates how he was the one who has pleaded with the president when they're in Kakamega to see that the airstrip is lifted. And they're saying that it is very unfair as members of Kisii County goes to Homa Bay or Kisumu to take planes or to land them to Nairobi and other destinations. You can also grab a copy of the People Daily newspaper and read that. Raila's quest gets cross-party support. Now, former premier exudes confidence as leaders wish him continental success. Now, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga yesterday exuded confidence in winning the chairmanship of African Union Commission chairperson, stating that he was ready to face any challenger. Raila said if elected, his leadership would ensure that the Africans are free from the exploitation of their minerals and wealth by other countries, thereby bringing change to the continent. That is what the former Prime Minister has pledged to all to Africa if he be elected as the AU chairperson. And we also see the AU chairperson election will be held in February and next year, that is 2025. Now that's also a story which we believe is of significance. Please grab a copy and read more comprehensively. Now, parliamentary tough war ignite as National Assembly now falls the Senate. Story by Mercy Mwai. Now the rivalry between the two houses of Parliament has taken a new twist after members of National Assembly accuse senators of taking over their functions. Angry members of National Assembly told their Speaker, Moses Wetangula, to issue a communication on what exactly constitutes the mandates of the Senate and the National Assembly in order to avoid ongoing confusion. Now that's also a story which I believe you can also grab and read. It is timed as a sibling rivalry. You can also take on that, read that story. We believe it is important. Now let us move very fast to page 6. Political interest funding impaired MC's oversight role. A story by Mercy Mwai states that monitoring organization raised concern on hurdles experienced by county assembly across the country. Story by Mercy Mwai. Political interference, overlapping of functions by the state, as well as inadequate facilitation and employment of personal staff has made it impossible for members of county assemblies, MCAs, to perform their oversight role. Now that's part of what is in the story. Now we see members of county assembly in their capacity to oversight the role of the county assembly, the role of the governor is now masked with a lot of challenges. You can also check there and read of that story. It is in page 6 of the People Daily News. People Daily. You can also get that and read. And also moving into council hit out at dealers defying rules. A story by Anthony Mwangi. Now the Scrap Metal Council has observed a troubling rise in irregular practice within the industry, with many dealers disregarding established regulations. So you can also grab that story and read by Anthony Mwangi on page 2. Now, number of refugee puzzles as hosts struggle to cope. Story by Anthony Mwangi. The exact number of refugees in Kenya remains unknown since there is no proper database for those hosted in Kenya, even as the host communities struggle with inadequate resources. Now, Commissioner for Refugee Affairs John Burugu has disclosed that the country's current refugee database is managed solely by the United Nations High Commission for Refugee, NHCR, with data stored in Hungary. Now, from that story, it said that the Kenyan government does not know exact number of refugees in the country, and they say the reason for this is that the data that contains the exact number of refugees in the country is managed by the United Nations High Commission, and the database is stored in Hungary. Now, that's also a story which I believe is important. Please grab a copy and read more comprehensively. Now, moving to page 8, House panel fines KAA boss 500,000 Kenya shillings for no show. A story by Anthony Mwangi. A parliamentary committee has slapped Kenyan Airport Authority Managing Director Henry Ogoe with 500,000 Kenya shillings fine for skipping accountability meeting. Now, Ogoe failed to attend 4 meetings with MPs without providing a satisfactory reasons, said Cohesion and Equal Opportunities Committee Chairperson Adan Haji. Grab that and read more comprehensively. Now, moving still on matters of education, still also Moi University workers reject plan to reopen. Now, we see lecturers vow to continue strike and want more than 10 billion in remuneration statutory deduction arrears. Now, story by Winston Chesremi. Now state that the financially troubled Moi University was expected to be reopened today, but classes may not resume as striking teaching and non-teaching staff are vowed to continue with their industrial action. They say, speaking to the media in Eldoret, representative of lecturers under the university academic staff issued 2 conditions that must be met before the return to lectures halls. Now, lecturers want the government to settle more than 10 billion in salaries and statutory deductions. They also demand that the top university administration be removed, blaming them for Moi's financial and management woes. Now, that is part of the story that you need to grab a copy and read more comprehensively. Now, let us move on to page 10, where we have quotes of the day. Raging storms were flattening homes, wildfires were wiping out forest, and land degradation and drought are degrading landscape. That is UNEP Executive Director Inga Anderson says that. And also that's a quote, and also have another quote of the day from Lodwar lawyer Shadrach Muyesu. Says, I urge business community to document the losses they have suffered and any equipment damage due to the power outages so we can pursue justice together against KPLC. And also we see another quote of the day. One of the best things that the Supreme Court clarified is that Parliament's role is to inform public, not necessarily convince every citizen. This ruling strengthens our capacity to legislate on behalf of the Kenyans. That is a quote from Suna East MP Junet Mohammed. You can grab a copy and check into that. We also see, I believe this is Wanjiku, chained with the government debts together. How did I end up here? That's the cartoon of the day, Please grab a copy and see into that. Now, moving still in that page, thought of the day: to win in the marketplace, you must first win in the workplace. For you to win in the marketplace, you must first win in the workplace. That's a thought of the day by Dove Conant. We move very fast because of the interest of time. Now we move to page 13. Lawyers to sue Kenya Power. He wants compensation for business losses and damage to equipment caused by inconsistent electricity. That's a story by Hesbon Etiang. And now Lodwar-based advocate Shadrach Muyesu has announced an intention to sue the nation's primary energy provider, Kenya Power, in Turkana over recurring power outage. The lawyer says the power outages have persisted for the past 3 months and led to significant loss for the local business community. You also grab that and read more of that story. Now we take you to here. We have a story of Obado's final plea in Sharon Matter, story by Alphonse Mungao. Now, former Migori Governor Zachary Obado and two others have urged the High Court to quit them. Obado and his PAs, Michael Oyamo and businessman Kaspal Obiero, are accused of alleged murder of Sharona Otieno on September 3rd, 2018 in Homa Bay County. Now, the story says that in their final submission, through their defense lawyer led by senior counsel Kioko Kilukumi, the accused persons urged that there was lack of evidence. Now, that's what the case is turning on to be. We also see a woman pleads guilty of impersonation case. A woman has been convicted by Nairobi court of stealing and impersonation after pleading guilty. Hilda Lillian Jerry Karanja had earlier denied the charges but changed her mind. The charges alleged that she conspired and stole 209,000 property of Alice Wanja Wandere. You can also grab a copy of that, of the People, and read that on page 13. Now moving on to page 14. Bail and bond terms out of bound for young and poor. Study found little to no knowledge of guidelines, slow processing of documents, and review and allegations of corruption. Story by Zadok Kangira states that financial burden of fines and bail, as well as the absence of adequate collateral for bond, have led to overcrowding and of correctional facilities with trial detainees. Now, that's part of what is in the story. Please grab and read of much of that story. Now, moving to Runyenjes, where we see police bar raid turned fatal in Runyenjes. Story by Zadok Kangira. Police officers shot and killed a man and injured others during an altercation at a bar in Runyenjes, Embu County on Saturday night. The officers from the police station, that is Ntegeia Police Post, accompanied by his colleague, raided a popular bar joint in Ugweri Market and ordered all the revelers to leave. However, this turned chaotic and resulted to death of one person and other two shot. Now, page 16. Climate financing increase to dominate Baku COP29 meeting. Now, draft agenda for climate summit include a Chinese proposal for talks on carbon, border taxes, and other restrictive trade. Story by Samuel Karaoke. Please grab a copy and read that. We also move with a speed. We are moving with speed, high speed. We are moving with the speed, my dear viewers, to business matters, we see in business matters where Kamala Harris and her campaign went wrong. You can read that. Also, microfinance bank assets dropped to 8.8%, sustained decline. CBA says subsector have followed a less favorable growth path across all performance indicators in recent years. Story by Vanessa Sandra. Please grab that. As Kenya Power warns of likely rationing on sharp rise in demand. A sharp rise in demand compared to generation capacity could lead to potential power rationing and loading shedding. Kenya Power has warned. You can also grab a copy and read that. Also, role of financial entities in tackling climate crisis. It says, as the world prepares for the United Nations Climate Change Conference COP29 in Baku, Abidjan from November 11th, the spotlight is on the pivotal role financial institutions will play in addressing escalating climate crisis. Now that is there. You can grab a copy and read more extensively. Now, MPs approves 7 shillings increase on road maintenance levy. That is on page 27 of the People Daily newspaper. Despite concerns, House Committee maintained the hike will not affect price of fuel. You can also read that story. It says the road maintenance levy will rise by 7 shillings from 18 to 25 following approval by the Parliamentary Commission on Delegated Legislation. Despite concerns, the committee members maintain this increase will not affect fuel prices. Please grab a copy of the People Daily newspaper and read also on that. Now, Cooperative Bank inks a deal with water providers to boost access in Kenya. Story by Vanessa Sandra. Please grab and read. Insurance. Insurers warn of potential 30 billion loss over planned waiver fund. Story by Ruben Mwambingu says, sorry for that. Experts have warned that the insurance sector could face annual losses of up to 300 billion if the government plans to create special fund under the Work Injury Benefit Act go through. You can also grab that and read. Also, boost for Kenya. Kenya exports to rest of continent jumped to 26%. Now, growth in first 7 months of 2024 mainly boosted by increased shipments, strengthened bilateral relations, and higher demand for tea. I think that's good for Kenyans. Now, Kenyans export to other African countries in the first 7 months of 2024 jumped by 26% to 1.9 billion. That is US dollars, equivalent to 197.3 billion during the same period. Kenya previously last year, the Central Bank of Kenya has revealed that the export on tea production has increased massively. That's great. Now let us move on to world news. That is on World People Daily World News. United States and UK strike hit Yemeni capital. Now from the story, the air raid hit Houthi-held Yemeni capital with no immediate report of casualties, says the AI Marush TV. Now, it said the United States and the United Kingdom have launched an airstrike in Yemeni, including the capital Sana'a. And they say the Pentagon told the AFP news agency that it targeted facilities which contained various weapons used to target military and civilian vessels navigating international waters. Now, Yemeni group has demanded that Israel stop its war on Gaza as conditions to stop the attack that have disputed. Now that's part of the story we have for you. And also Mauritius heads to polls amid what were tapping scam. You can also read that. And also DRC Congo opposition dig in over law change. You can also grab that and read. And also still on world news, we see Indian soldiers engage in deadly gun fight with rebel. One rebel killed as two separate gunfights underway amid increase in armed attack in India administered Kashmir. That's also a story that I believe is important. You can read. Putin approved strategy packed with North Korea. You can also grab a copy and read much of that. Now, with speed, let us move to sports matters. Kicking past the odds. Now we see, starting his journey as a young boy playing football in Nairobi Maringo area, Musa Goti's talent and dedication have opened door he once only dreamt of. You can also read that story. It is there. And Musa is saying, it was not easy to convince my parents to allow me play football. They were worried about my safety and my future since there was no one in my family who had played football. That's Musa Goti saying that. Please read an inspiring story of Musa Goti, who was risen from that low background. Now Zambia, goal digger in Orlando. We see the soft-spoken goal scorer from Zambia making noise with Orlando Prides. Barbara Banda is turning head on and off the field. You can also read that story. That story in football really matters so much. And also, bye-bye Oduor. Now, Austin Oduor's final journey was marked by emotional tributes from football legend who reflect on his discipline and unflinching dedication. You can also read that story by Kefas Otieno. Hundreds of football legends, players, and fans gathered in Makunga Village, Kakamega County, to pay their final respect to the late Austin Makamu Oduor, a towering figure in Kenyan football. You can also read that story. I believe it is great to see as they sent off Musa Makamu Oduor. That's great. And we see Guardiola concedes, that is in page 38. After 6 titles, maybe another team deserves one, says Man City boss. A story from Manchester. Now, Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola says maybe another team deserves win the Premier League after their sustained period of success. The Blues have won six of the past 7 Premier League titles, including 4 in a row, but has fallen 5 points behind the leaders Liverpool following 2-1 defeat by Brighton. That is part of what is in there. Kenya football coach jailed for life for abusing young boys. Now, a Kenyan court on Friday sentenced a former football coach to life imprisonment and ordered him to pay almost 90 million shillings, equivalent to $700,000 in fine for abusing young boys in his care and possessing child pornography. Now, the convicted Peter Mureithi will spend additional 110 years in jail if he fails to raise the fine. Now, that is what is there. And also we see Bayern edges St. Pauli to extend lead. Mainz turn Dortmund in Bundesliga. And also you see it is from tears to smile. Now, for Olympian Ellen Kongost, who laughed last to regain her scholarship after Paris 2024 marathon. You can grab a copy and read that much. Real Madrid has costly win Villarreal keeps on winning in La Liga Spanish. You can also check on to that. Matasi dropped. Veteran custodian axed from national team as side leaves for South Africa for crucial African qualifier. We see Kenya police custodian Patrick Matasi was the main casualty after coach Engin Firat axed him from the 23-man squad for the remaining two 2025 African Cup of Nations qualifier against Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Namibia. That's not a good story, but you never know what happens in the world of football. Now, that is what we have for you in the People Daily newspaper. That's the brief of what is in the People Daily newspaper. Please grab your copy and read more comprehensively. Remember to also subscribe and leave a comment on our page, that is YouTube BTV Kenya, and also on Facebook Blackman TV Kenya. Remember also we have programs aligned for you today. That is, we have Burudani Extra that is coming, and late in the evening we'll be having our news. Please don't forget to follow and read. We also have part of what we are doing also is that, remember, BTV also have a subsequent company known as Blackman Graphics, Digitech Graphics, that provides printing of all services from general printing to large format printing. We also provide services such as branding, that's of all types. Please remember to subscribe. Remember to follow us. We also provide online. We also provide live video coverage. We also provide video coverage for funerals, wedding ceremonies, anniversaries. Please remember to subscribe. Remember to reach out to us in case you have a need for printing. We also provide services such as photography, indoor and outdoor. We have studio where we do the same. Please remember, if you have questions, hit onto our inbox and we'll guide you accordingly. Thank you so much for staying tuned to BTV. We release you now to have your time and continue the daily activity. God bless you as we to see you tomorrow also in the vibrant morning. Be blessed. Thank you so much. I'm your host, Gagi Isaya.